Greetings viewers, EricTheCarGuy here. Yep, Saab's back. It's got a couple of problems. In this video we're going to cover one of those problems, and one of those problems being that there are a lot of lights on the dash when you start this car. The check engine light is on, the ABS light is on, the traction control light is on, and maybe there's a couple more that I forgot about. But today in this video we're going to pursue why that happens, but based on the title you probably already know what we're doing. But we're going to go through the process of how we found out that we needed to do this. So let's go over to the vehicle and verify the complaint. All right, here's what we're looking at. All right, yes, the door is open because I have the door open, but we got a brake light, an ABS light, a TCS light, and also that big thing up there. So, oh yes, and let's not forget the check engine light. So all those lights on. Now let's start with something I know. Let's plug in and see if we can figure out why that check engine light's on. Okay, let's see if we can find out why that light is on. And I usually start this way just because, well, if you got a check engine light, it's possible it's related to other things such as ABS or what have you. It really depends on the model. Ooh, we have an enhanced DTC. Yes, we will confirm. I'll let you in a little secret. I already pulled this code. So we have a 1625, P1625. Now I've looked this up, so let's see what I found. Okay, here's what I did, and I do this a lot, by the way. I just did a search for Saab 95 P1625, and look what comes up. We've got ABS, TCS, and warning lights show up, and this is a Saab forum. And basically reading through this, what we find out is that there's an issue with the ABS, TCS control unit, which is mounted to the ABS unit underneath the hood and the braking system. And I believe it turns out to be something like a communication error or something like that. But you are able to remove it and send it off for possible remanufacture. So there's a couple of things to note about this. This being a common problem and that I was able to find it on the internet is pretty much given me a good idea of what my diagnosis is. I'll put a link in the description to what I found here. I normally like to verify, to test and that kind of thing, but it's describing this problem almost to a T. And given that I've dealt with these people that do the remanufacturing before, I'm inclined to go this route. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the ABS TCS unit and then send it off for repair and get it back and see if that repairs our issue with all those lights on the dash. Should be fun. All right, step one, I guess, is let's get up under this hood. Okay, our ABS unit is located here behind the battery and underneath this fuse box assembly. And we're going to need to get that black part off there. So in order to do that, we're going to have to first remove the battery and, well, first remove the battery. To remove the battery, I always start by removing the negative cable. And in this case, these are 13 millimeter. In order to remove the battery, we are going to need to remove this clamp right down here that is held down by that 13 millimeter nut. Once you remove the nut, you can reach down and lift the clamp on up off of there. And then slide the battery, well, before you do that, there's a vent tube here at the top that you need to disconnect. Then slide the battery towards the firewall or bulkhead and then lift it straight up. We now have a much better view of our prize. Here's the ABS unit, and to remove this we will need to pull back on this part of the connector. I may have to grab a tool or something in order to disconnect the connector. Okay, I'm just going to use a pair of pliers for this. Sort of pull back, and you'll notice that when I pulled it back and you see this little slot here, it starts to disconnect. and then you can just lift it up off. It actually locks onto these little pegs that stick out the side of the unit. All right, I've just moved the electrical connector up out of the way here. We can sort of get a better look at what we're looking at. Now we need to remove the electronic part of this unit, and you can see it's held on by Torx fasteners. I'm not sure what size they are. I'll let you know here in a minute. But it looks like we have 6. Looks like we have 1, 2 there. We've got, you can sort of see one here, and then sort of see one down there. So it looks like 6 of those fasteners hold that in. And then we have this coolant hose running in between. And we also have this battery tray that's somewhat in the way. So my thinking is, it's going to be a lot easier to access this if we just remove this battery tray. Okay, for starters, there are 4 fasteners that seem to hold the tray in. They're all 10mm fasteners, by the way. Now, remove the battery tray did help us out quite a bit. All right, it turns out the size on these is T20, and as I said, we've got 6 of them. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the way down at the bottom, we've got 2 more. Once again, this bit is a T20. We can hopefully get down in here. All right, given that I don't want to drop this screw someplace where I can't find it, I've got a magnet here that I'm just going to retrieve it with. Just going to continue on up this side. And another one here, right about in the middle. And again, I'm going in with my magnet. Last but not least, we have one here at the top on this side. And we have 3 more fasteners coming up the other side. You may have to move the coolant hose up out of the way a little bit. Another one. These are all the same size so far, so I don't think you have to worry about mixing them up. Right, now that we've removed all the fasteners, we can just sort of pull that coolant hose back out of the way again. And try to put it someplace where it will stay for the moment. And then you can just pull back on the unit. It should disconnect. It's like we have one more electrical connector to consider here. The last electrical connector is here. And it just can sort of lift up and push down. And then we can remove our unit. All right, here we are over on the bench. These are the important numbers. These are the numbers that, should you decide to send this off to the BBA Remanufacturing facility, these are the numbers you'll need to identify the unit. I've read that some of these require that you reprogram the computer to recognize the ABS unit. It's only on some models. They're not all like that. So sending off your old unit to have it remanufactured may be better than getting a new one, because if you got a new one, you might have some reprogramming to do. But as a DIYer, it might be easier to send this off and be remanufactured. Now, I believe that we can drive this vehicle without this unit attached. The base braking system and everything will work. We just won't have ABS. So we may be able to drive this for a bit until we get this back, and then once we reinstall it, then we should be good. But none of the hydraulics have been opened during the process of all this, so you're not going to have to bleed the brakes or anything like that. This is just an electronic component that bolts to the outside. So let's get this boxed up and shipped off. Something to be considered if you do decide to drive this around is you might want to cover this up with something to keep any debris or anything like that from getting into this area. while you're waiting for the part to return. These are like really tight tolerances and things like that. You don't want a bunch of dirt or contaminants to get in here. So to avoid that, you might put a plastic bag or something like that over this area, so that as to protect it until you get your part back from the remanufacturer. All right, check it out. I now have the part back from BBA Remanufacturing. They went through it and made whatever repairs were necessary to the unit, and now I'm going to reinstall it on the vehicle. I'll post a link in the description to the service that I used. I've had a really good experience dealing with BBA, so I do recommend them, and it is going to be less expensive to have this part remanufactured than it is to purchase it new. Now let's take it over the vehicle and get it installed and see if this worked out. Now, one of the things in the little note that was given to me from BBA was something about making sure that the surfaces here were absolutely clean, and that couldn't be more true, because if there's little particles of dirt or something like that that get wedged in between these moving parts, they're very tight tolerances and they might not move correctly if there's anything like that. So make sure everything is nice and clean, but be careful, because sometimes when you clean something you can actually add dirt, so be mindful of your methods. Now, I think it goes without saying that when I install this, these little things here kind of flopping around, I need to make sure that they line up with those, I guess you'd call them actuators, inside there. So make sure that everything lines up when you go to put it on, and don't try to force it. Just, work it around until it does what you need it to do. Move this coolant hose out of the way. Slip this guy down in here. Oops, sorry. That actually went on relatively easily. Super happy about that. And now we're going to install our, I believe, 6 fasteners around the circumference, and that was our Torx bit that we used to tighten those up with. I suppose we'll go for the easy to get to ones first. I hope it goes without mentioning that you don't need to torque these a lot. You just need to snug them up, and you should be fine. Over tightening, you could break them, and well, that just wouldn't be good. All right, now that we're fastened down, let's restore the electrical connections. We got one from up underneath here. Make sure that clicks in. And then the larger connector, we need to pull that all the way out in order for it to begin to engage. And then when you push this in, it will lock itself into place and pull it down in. So now all of our electrical is hooked back up. Let's move this coolant hose out of the way and put our battery tray back in, and we are very close to completion. And here's our battery tray. Goes in this direction. Just gonna move my nut out of the way that goes to the lock, to the hole down there. These are all 10 millimeter if I remember right. Put our battery into place, and you notice the lips here need to fit on the lip on the bottom of the battery. So make sure that seats in properly. And we have our hold down bracket. Get this down in here right. I like that. So, hope you can see how that's in there, and then we'll install our retaining nut and tighten that down. Battery hold downs are important. In the event of a collision, it prevents the battery from flying around under the hood and possibly shorting out against it, which can cause sparks, which, if there's fuel in the air, it could possibly ignite something. In fact, in some states, you'll fail an inspection if you don't have your hold down installed. Once again, you don't want to tighten it so much. This is a plastic case. You could actually crack it and damage it. Now we have our battery vent we need to hook back up. And I start my electrical connections by hooking the positive up first and then the negative. That's how I do it. And we'll tighten those down. If these connections are dirty, real good time to clean them before you reinstall them. You'd be surprised how many problems can be caused by dirty battery connections. You can use a little baking soda and water to do that with, and a wire brush. That usually works pretty good. Well, I guess in every sense of the word, this is the moment of truth. I'm going to start it up, and if the ABS light is out, it's a win. If it comes back on, the instructions say to drive it around for about 30 minutes and see if it will go off. If it does not go off after that period of time, it's possible there's some other issue with the ABS system, in which case you pull a code and diagnose them from there. I call that a win. Still gonna drive it, but I call that a win. All right, we're out for a little drive just to be 100% sure that the light is out and that the ABS functions as it should. So far, I'm driving maybe a half mile or so and I don't have any lights on. I'm gonna go up into this parking lot, see if I can jam on the brakes, see if I get the ABS to activate, see how it does then. Turbos are cool. They work. Brakes work better too. I always find that when you slam on the brakes like that a few times with an ABS car, I don't know what it does. Maybe it resets itself, something. But after the fact, it seems like you have a much better brake pedal. All right, well, we took it out. No ABS lights, no problems, no other lights, no check engine light. It all seems to be a happy camper now. So thanks to BBA Remanufacturing for taking care of that for me. And it was only like $60 some or whatever it was for the repair, as opposed to buying a new part, which I think was like $200 or $300. Maybe even more than that. I'm not sure, especially if it's an OE part. I can attest to the fact that having it remanufactured works. Took about, I'd say, a weekish as far as the turnaround between sending this one off. Some of these units, as I stated earlier, you need to program the vehicle so that it can talk to that unit, so you can't necessarily just replace it with another one. That's why I went this route with this one, or else I just would have purchased either a remanufactured or a salvage unit and installed it here. But what I'm told on this particular vehicle, you can actually read your serial number off of the part itself, and they'll actually know if you have the type of ABS unit that needs to be programmed to the vehicle or not. If you do have the type that needs to be programmed to the vehicle, then unless you want to have it relearned, I'm not sure if the dealership is the only place. I'm not sure what scanners would actually be capable of doing that work, but I'm going to say that there's a very strong possibility that it's going to be beyond the capabilities of a DIY scanner. It's going to have to be a more high-end scanner that's going to be able to do that relearn procedure. To avoid that whole mess and needing to even worry about that, I think the best way to go is to have yours remanufactured, but you're going to have to deal with about a week or so of downtime, so keep that in mind. But you know, they had a good turnaround, a great result. I'm happy. So link in the description should you have a similar problem and want to have your ABS unit remanufactured by BBA. Anyway, can't really think of much else that is important in this video, other than it's pretty much remove and replace. You don't have to worry about the hydraulic system, that kind of thing. Or test it after you're done, of course. But otherwise, you know, just pat yourself on the back for doing such a good job and saving yourself a ton of money. You know I love that. Anyway, I am Eric the Car Guy. You can always find me at EricTheCarGuy.com, where if you have automotive questions, I would ask that you type in a couple of keywords to the search function at the top of the page. Just might get an answer to your query right then and there. If that's not the case, feel free to sign up for our forum. It's absolutely free. All you need is an email address. Just be sure to respond to the confirmation email. If you don't see that, it might end up in your spam folder, so check there. You can also connect with me socially on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. And I close each and every video with, be safe, have fun, and stay dirty. I will see you next time.